Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is awake for this fabulous conversation on sleep tourism as it continues to trend. And the panelists and myself are going to be talking to you about how luxury hotels can help their guests catch some Z's. My name is Lisa Kane. I am an associate professor at the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at Florida International University, and it is my honor and privilege to be moderating this session today. I am going to let our panelists introduce themselves. And would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Brian Coughlin. I'm the Vice President General Manager of Serta Simmons Hospitality, based out of Doraville, Georgia, and I pretty much cover all of the North America market for hospitality.
Good afternoon, everyone. Alexandra Walterspiel. I'm with Sensei. We are a luxury wellness hospitality company, and we lead on purpose with wellness and then hospitality because it's really what defines us. So 2 properties currently, one on the island of Lanai, and then the second one in Southern California, just outside of Palm Springs.
My name's Susie Arnett, and I'm the Director of Wellness Programming for Six Senses. We have about 26 properties around the world, and I work with our partnerships and events and new wellness initiatives that we roll out.
My name is, first excuse my voice. My name is Elena Stavnyak, and I'm a corporate director of spa and retail for SH Hotels and Resorts. Under our umbrella, we have Baccarat Hotels and Resorts, One Hotels, and the Treehouse.
Well, thank you all so much. I hope everyone got a great night's sleep last night. And you didn't party too hard, which Elena clearly did, based on the voice.
I was gonna blame cold.
Just kidding. Brian and his company actually sent out a survey. So did anyone participate in the survey? Excellent. Thank you so much for your participation. There are some really interesting and fabulous results that we will probably discuss at some point. But before we get into the survey, I really would love to start with some guest expectations and trends and ask you all a little bit about that. So what are the current expectations and trends that you've found that sort of drive guest initiatives? And Brian, why don't we start with you since you're right next to me?
You know, the trend that we see right now in the bedding portion of the equation is it's an expectation of the guest for the higher end resort oriented health and wellness oriented facilities, that the bed that you're going to be sleeping in that night is of high quality, a good combination between initial comforting feel but yet highly supportive, so that you're not waking up feeling like you just slept on too soft or too hard of a bed. So that's like the baseline of any guest arriving at your properties.
Yes, I think I would follow up on that and absolutely say that certainly the minimum guest expectation, especially at the luxury level, is that the sleep experience needs to be perfect. And I think it's fascinating, even though that in the hotel industry, really, sleep is what we provide first most. It's what the majority of time in a typical environment is spent on by a guest, and yet we're still not perfect. And no ding to the Fontainebleau, because this could be anywhere, but I will tell you that, I did not sleep very well last night, and some of the reasons were the things that we're going to talk about on this panel too, and that there was light coming through my entrance door from the very brightly lit corridor. There was light coming through from the drapes, and there was the humming sound of the minibar that kicked on occasion, and the temperature didn't really work perfectly the way that I like it. So it was just, and maybe there were a few other self-inflicted issues last night too that didn't.
But your mattress was awesome,
overcome.
right? Your mattress.
My mattress was awesome. Thank you. The self-inflicted component just made me realize that there was light coming through underneath the door. But where I'm going with this is that, one, we have to make sure that the basic sleep quality, the room setup, is perfect. In addition to that, coming out of the pandemic, with wellness tourism, that in my mind, sleep tourism as part of wellness tourism has taken on such an important component in people's consciousness, we are now at a point where the expectation also is that guests want to be provided with opportunity in regards to both amenities and programming to really enhance their sleep experience and learn how to sleep properly. And I know that we get into that a little bit further.
Absolutely.
Yes, very, very similar. Six Senses has had our Sleep with Six Senses program for many years now, even before sleep was a narrative and a story for hotels. And so I think for us, it's become just table stakes. You know, we have, in terms of the quality of the bed, we spent a year finding the right pillow, something that would like stay fluffy, not flatten too much. You know, like there's so much rigor around every element of the room design around sleep. And I think our guests, because of the brand, just expect that from us. And, you know, we'll talk more about what those details are, but same in terms of both just the design of the room and how that's put together, but also the programs that we have to really help people who maybe have a little bit more issue with their sleep instead of just the regular guest.
And for me, my bed at the Club Live was very comfortable last night.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Well played.
sleep as well for us. I think one of my main roles with the company is taking that experience outside the guest rooms into that programming and spa. When it comes to sleep itself, I think, you know, with us, with SH Hotels and Resorts being founded by Barry Sterlick, who carried about sleep like 20 plus years ago with a heavenly bed. So we know that if you're going to one of our properties, you're definitely going to have a comfortable mattress to sleep on. But we'll touch base on some of the other touches of you take outside the guest rooms.
Absolutely. And you all raised very interesting points. And Alex, I think one thing that you brought up were all of the different components outside of the bed, right? The bed is the baseline expectation. But in one of the questions in your survey that you asked, you know, what are the habits that you have for sleep? Do you travel with your sleep mask and your earplugs and your sound machine? And so the next question then is, how can hotels integrate sleep optimization into their hotels, into their broader wellness offerings? What can we do to really facilitate and foster that? Alex, why don't we start with you this time?
Well, first of all, we need Brian's beds for sure, and start from there. I think it goes back a little bit to what I already said and what the others touched on as well. There's the balance between amenities and programming. The basic expectations need to be met. And then I think in the luxury world especially, it's interesting when Susie speaks about the perfect pillow, because in my mind, luxury and where it's going is really hyper-personalization. And the perfect pillow for you may not be for me, right? So I sort of look at it and say, we really need to incorporate this customization, personalization into the guest experience. And, you know, I love, as basic as it can be, of just saying, hey, provide a pillow bar, which hotels can do even if they're not into wellness. One of the great things about that is that you're not prescribing a certain pillow as being the perfect pillow. The Heavenly Bed, which was brilliant. However, it was one size fits all, and that bed is not actually going to work for everyone. So I think we really need to bring the uniqueness of every individual into the conversation, not just with pillows, but ultimately even with mattresses, which in the end is going to be a mattress topper, because obviously we can't change a mattress out after every checkout for someone's preference. So,
Elena, I know this is in your field specifically. Would you like to expand a little bit on this as well?
I think for us is also having those additional amenities that we can support the hotels when it comes to it as the guest requests. So if you want to maybe request like a pillow mist or a sleep mask, that you will be able, because there's so many companies out there now that, for example, Therabody just came out with a sleep mask that is very affordable. The hotels can afford to have them as the extra additional amenity to the guest if they want it per request. And also I think when it comes to in-room experiences, you know, I think up to still this day in luxury hotels, when you do the turn down service, we still give them a little chocolate on their pillow. I think it's time to think outside the box, and why not have like a sleeping tea or something that will comfort them instead of caffeine on their pillow.
Susie?
Yeah, one of the things we're looking at a lot right now is circadian rhythm. And so that's very much, right? I see a lot of nodding heads. Like, what can we do with the guest in the beginning of the day? It's sunrise. what do we do at sunset? Like how you slept last night was based on what you did yesterday morning, based on what you did 2 days ago. It's very cumulative. And we work with a guy named Dr. Michael Bruce, who's a sleep doctor, and he's taught us a lot about really what is involved with good sleep. So I think all of these elements outside the room are so key, because by the time it's that last hour of the day and you're about to go to bed, like you've either set yourself up for success or failure. And so we're trying to help educate guests about, well, this is what you could do at this time of day to help you set up for a really great night of sleep. So.
And how do spa treatments and exercise programs, how do all of those different amenities that we offer at our hotels play into the sleep cycle and a good night's sleep? Helena?
I mean, we have, it's taking that experience outside. If, like, for example, if you go to the spa and if you have services in our One Hotel spas, we have a treatment called Be Silent. So we work with a brand, Bamford, which is UK-based brand, that they have a whole collection of the Be Silent Rage products. So those treatments are specifically designed for that deep relaxation and to prepare you to sleep with the natural ingredients that are inside. And also we have them for the home care, so the guest can take that experience outside the spa. And as well, inside of our spas and wellness centers, we have facilities. Like now we know that it's trending, like cold therapy or infrared sauna. That hot and cold experience will put you in a deeper relaxation and prepare you and relax you for the better sleep.
And how are we addressing issues? I don't know if anybody is jet lagged here, but how are we addressing issues like jet lag through what we're offering in our hotels, or what can we do to accommodate our guests in that capacity?
Yeah, I mean, we work with an app, the Time Shifter app, and it's a great product that our guests can use before they arrive or when they arrive to help them reset their circadian rhythm. And also we have sleep trackers that you can have in your room to help you. I mean, I guess there's two sides of it, right? There's the actual experiential side, like how is my sleep and did I sleep better last night or not? But then there's also what can I learn about my sleep, and how do we help educate the guests versus just giving them the best experience that we can. So kind of two sides.
I would add to that, back to your question, how does the rest of the spa experience sort of fit in or fitness? So at Sensei, we believe in the 3 paths of move, nourish, and rest. And at all times, those 3 paths will be connected and interact with each other. And depending on where you are in your life, or what is important to you, what your goals are, or quite frankly, where you are in your travel experience, you may need to focus, in this case, we're talking about sleep, more on rest. But rest is not just about sleeping. It is also just about resetting and downgrading your overall kind of amped upness, whatever that might be. And back to Susie's point, the quality of your sleep is not going to be driven just by what happens when you go to bed. It starts, I think you say, in the morning. I mean, if you think about all of the things that can impact your sleep during your day, negatively and positively, it's like we could just rattle off 10 items right now that are there. And so for us, we really again look at sleep in a personalized manner to sort of say, okay, what are the sleep issues that you are facing regularly, or potentially just tonight? I mean, for me, sleep after on business travel is very different than sleep on leisure travel. But yet we approach sleep as kind of one topic, but it has so many different facets that really need to be addressed for the unique individual that you have in front of you in order to really find the best way to optimize their sleep.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Sensei, you guys do a really good job about technology and bringing that technology into that guest experience.
Can we talk about technology for a little
I
bit?
think we should absolutely talk about technology. In fact, that is my next question.
Oh, sorry.
So Alex, why don't you kick us off?
I would love to. So how many of you are wearing a Whoop Band, an Aura Ring, an Apple Watch, or anything like that, just by show of hand? Okay.
Oh, wow.
And how many of you actually now, when your spouse, your significant other, asks you, "How did you sleep last night, honey?" you say, "Well, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I haven't looked at my app yet."
My phone is charging.
Right? My phone is charging. I haven't gotten there yet. It's like, and I say to my dear wife, it's like, all I want to know is, did you sleep well? How do you feel, right? So anyway, where I'm going with this is that, yes, technology is amazing. And we are getting more and more sleep data that is really valuable. And I think, to anticipate a question of yours at the end, where is this all going? Data is going to become increasingly more important. However, data without actually understanding the data is just that. It's just data. It's just numbers. And so if you look at your, how did you sleep last night? Okay, depending on what device you use, it's going to tell you about your readiness or your sleep scores. Like, what does it mean? And so for us, and thank you for the compliment, Susie, but the technology in our mind is never going to replace the human. It's actually going to help you, A, understand your data and then assist you in educating you on how you can actually impact that data and make a change.
So the USB drive is the most important piece of technology that helps facilitate sleep so that we can gather our data because our item is charged. Other than the bed.
That is one way of looking at it, but yes.
So I guess that brings me to my next question, which is what smart technologies are we using to help enhance sleep programs in our hotels, if any, and if not, what should we be using? Other than Fabulous Map.
I mean, we don't have one product or one partnership like that we work with. And a lot of our guests come in, like a lot of you guys, with an Oura Ring or with a Whoop or with an Apple Watch, obviously. So we work with our guests one-on-one when they arrive, and really we have a wellness consult that people get if they want to opt into that. It really depends on the guest. I mean, how deep do they want to dive? We have kind of three kinds of guests. We have the leave me alones, who we call the leave me alones. They just want to go to the beach. They don't want to talk about it. And we have the kind of wellness curious, and then we have like the hardcore person. And the hardcore person typically is in a one-on-one wellness consult as soon as they arrive. They're in a treatment room by the afternoon. They want to do the test. They want to do the screening. They want to know everything. And so for that person, we have different options and different programs they can take. So it really kind of depends. So I guess I don't know if I'm answering that really, but we don't have really one thing that we tie our programming to.
And I know for us, we were at some point when we were developing that wellness sleep pattern, when we were looking at the brand for our mattresses, they will track all the sleeping patterns, how you sleep. For us, then it came like data breach, because a lot of time those companies that you work with, they will have access to that particular guest, and that's what enable us from implementing that into our processes.
Interesting.
Because you never know how it can leak.
Interesting. I mean, we think we've worked our way around that, knock on wood. But I think for us, again, the technology of wearables, without question. You mentioned circadian rhythm. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of technology. There's a company here, Lofty. They're doing it. I mean, there are many companies now out there that will offer varying degrees of technology. Bedding technology is coming into that significantly. And I think to Susie's point, I think everyone, even though they might not be wellness enthusiasts, would like to have a better night's sleep. And even without technology, we will educate them on how they can do that. And for us also, just as importantly, we want to make sure that we actually have our guests, of course, experience an amazing night's sleep at our properties. But more importantly, we want to make sure that they can take what they learned home with them, where the conditions in most cases are less than perfect, whether that's a toddler, a snoring spouse, a dog, a garbage truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. But those are the real conditions that you experience most of the time, so we want to do that as well. But similar to what Susie said, there are going to be people that will not integrate technology at all, and then others where we really do a deep dive on what we call their biomarkers for them to understand how something that they did the night before, the day before, really impacted them. So we will never say to anyone, hey, you really shouldn't drink alcohol or you can't drink alcohol. Quite the opposite. We have lovely bars available at our properties, but what we do show them is the impact of a glass of wine, a bottle of wine, or no wine on the quality of the sleep that they had the night before. And for some people, that means they're not going to change anything, and for others, it's really eye-opening, and they make drastic changes.
So we've talked about biomarker technology, we've talked about bedding technology, but there's also lighting and sound. What are we doing in terms of that in the in-room design to really enhance a good night's sleep? And I know you mentioned, Alex, that there was a lighting issue, and maybe it's just as simple as having one of those dust strips at the bottom of the door that actually hits the floor. But what other technology can we use to help with those?
I mean, we're very aware of light in the room and all the, we've got rooms in Duro Valley where the windows open to face the sunrise, right? So the sun's coming in the right way in the morning. I mean, it's not always like that, but I think temperature is such a huge part of good sleep. So we have a lot of temperature controls in the room, and I think that there's again, it comes to the personalization point that you said. Some people really want it warmer, some people want it cooler, some people want this, they want that. So having the flexibility in the space that they can make it their way.
I would add to that. I go back, if you can't get the basics right,
Right.
then don't worry about sound machines or anything like that, right? If you need to get the room dark and to the right temperature, and there too, the right temperature for Susie might not be the right temperature for me. So how do we solve for that? And I think those are really the important things. Then you can really, I mean, if you start searching on the internet on sleep aids, of all the things that you could now introduce into your guest room, that's all good and well, but still, if you did, a sound machine is not going to make any difference if you can't get the room dark enough.
Well, and to that, I'll just say one more thing to that point, because in my room last night, I couldn't get the phone to work, and I had no way to. I had to actually call the hotel on my cell phone because I had a question. And I think this communication piece with the guest, that the guest is a really easy way to text the hotel and be like, "Hey, my room's not right. Can you help me?" I had to jump through so many hoops to just get to the front desk and ask a question. And so part of good sleep is really being able to get your questions answered and being able to modify what you need. And so,
Did everybody notice in their room, they're staying at the Fontainebleau, that they did something very right? And that is the dimming of the lights.
oh yeah,
You walk in,
Yeah.
it's on, medium, or low.
yeah.
And what I found myself doing last hour before I was ready to go to bed, I'm working, all lights are on. About a half hour, I went to medium. 10 minutes before, I went to low. And if somebody could have just hit that off switch for me, that would have been perfect.
Right.
I was
I
gonna s-
really like that feature.
Yeah, that's
That was
the feature we
nice.
have in all of our hotels. That's
Same.
I think it's a luxury hotel segment is you find that lightning, and we also have in our Hanalei Bay property we have white nose machines in the room, and we also have some of the rooms that are you can request to be wellness equipped, which we will get extra feature that will help you sleep and relax with the compression boots for if you're jet lagged. There's a PMF mat that will help you if you use that for about 20-minute session will help you sleep better and muscle soreness. So there's additional features that we add in technology.
And it's interesting, Brian, because what you said is absolutely correct, but the piece that is missing there too is the education, right?
Yeah,
So if
didn't know.
if you don't know that is actually going to impact your sleep, and guests are there with bright lights and the television on in front of their computer, and they've never been educated on the fact that those are just, from a sleep hygiene point of view, complete no-nos. Those are the things. But at least the good news is that yes, the option is here. That if you have been educated and you know that you can do it.
Yeah, I religiously travel with 3 items: a Bluetooth speaker, my Spotify app up to date, and chip clips for the drapery. Now, somewhere back in Kansas City, there's some Doritos getting stale, but I'm blocking out that light. And yes, I put a towel at the door to block out that light.
I always have a little magnesium with me when I travel. I have these little packets of magnesium I bring.
I think that's great. And I think once you have the knowledge, then you know what to bring with you, what the hotel might provide or not provide in terms of chip clips. But how do we market what we're offering to people, and how do we educate them through our marketing collateral to make sure that our customers know what we're offering and how to use it and when to use it? Alex, did you want to?
Yeah, I can start with that. I think I touched on it before. So we at Sensei don't really specifically talk about sleep tourism. We really focus on wellness tourism, which obviously is a enormously quickly growing industry. I think the prediction by the end of this year, going into next year, is that it's $1 trillion industry of a total of a $6 trillion industry that is just wellness in general, right? So we, as I said, for us, and our sensei way of the three passive move, nourish, rest. Sleep is always a component of it. But we have created a wellness package that we call Rest and Reset, that is really focused on sleep education and also stress management. And most of you know that if you can't manage your stress, it's unlikely that you're going to sleep well. So it really is a combination there too of kind of saying we need to help you manage your stress first. And managing stress, again, can be caused for many different reasons, right? If you have a newborn baby at home, your stress is one thing. If you have a really, really challenging job, then the stress it's still stress, but it's a different kind of stress, and there's going to be a different solution to it. So we market it really as different wellness packages focused on different things. And in our case, the Rest and Reset is what focuses on sleep. And sleep is really just a component of wellness overall.
I think for us, there's a couple different levels to it. The majority of our guests come through OTAs or travel agents or third parties, right? So we don't talk to our guests a lot before they arrive. So we don't really know how their sleep is or if that's an issue. So the majority of we do have a Sleep with Six Senses program, a personalized package of technology and services and one-on-one consults to really help you with your sleep. But we typically sell those on property because we don't have that pre-arrival conversation. Like at Canyon Ranch, everybody gets a phone call, right, before they arrive. How's it going? What do you need? What's going on in your life? Like, we don't talk to our guests before they get there. So primarily it does happen on property when the guest arrives, and they might be like, hey, the wellness director will have a conversation with the guest, or our guest experience manager will have a conversation, be like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? But in terms of the actual marketing, we haven't actually marketed our wellness programs that much, and so that's something we're really looking at right now. And it's on the website. It's a little bit on social. We have some influencer partners that we'll work with that can do these programs and talk about them and do some storytelling around them. But primarily, we sell on property, the add-ons.
And I just wanted to add, I think what's very important as well, because even if you market that, sometimes guests don't see it. I think it's education of your internal staff. Right. So if they're checking in at the front desk and they see that somebody, let's say in Miami, is arriving from Milan, so I think this is something that they can offer some of the feature and go that extra mile that will help the guest feel better and then also understand the facilities. Because a lot of time it's just, here's your key and you go to your room. So I think when you have some features like that, it's definitely highlighting them.
I think that's such a pivotal point because, to your point, there was the sleep dimmer in the room, but if a desk agent doesn't point that out and you don't know to look for it, then you're not going to use it, right? Or if you don't know why it's there and you're just like, I don't feel like ambient lighting tonight, I'm not going to push the dim button. So I guess that brings us to our next question is, what is the return on investment for sleep-focused upgrades and programs? Brian, I don't know if you want to.
Sure. This past year, we did an extensive study with the Global Wellness Institute Sleep Initiative, and the results came back very surprising. First off, the bad news, out of everybody that was polled, the respondents that said they got a really good night's sleep while traveling away from home, that was 1%. Wow. 63% said they slept poorly. So the good news, there's opportunity, right? There's a pony in there somewhere. And it really was based around revenue. 94% of those people said that they would be willing to pay more for a room that had sleep aids, if you will, features. And out of that 94, 61% said they'd be willing to pay up to 10% the normal room rate. So there is a hunger and a benefit for the revenue potential for a property.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, and we all know that we work in luxury segment hotels, is a lot of time if your guest has that good night's sleep, and we get those requests, they want to take that bed home. They'll be asking you like, how can I get this bed, or how can I get this bedding, or the pillow. We've had that. So I think that's another, if you're investing a little bit more in those features, that will enhance their stay. You can charge more, but then also there's a potential of bringing that revenue to their home.
I agree the retail opportunity is huge. And to just keep going with statistics for a little bit, so the CDC basically said that 1 in 2 adults in America does not sleep well, doesn't get enough sleep. You mentioned a few statistics. There's another one, the American Psychology Association basically said that nearly 40% of adults in this country are looking for stress mitigation, anxiety reducing opportunities. The hospitality industry is perfectly situated to help with that. And, again, I cited some of the stats from just wellness tourism. There is no question that there is a return. And I don't know if any one of you were listening to the panel yesterday afternoon where we had the homie from Canyon and Richard from Bremer, and I was just sitting in the audience chomping at the bit because what they were saying was just not aligned with really clear data that is out there that guests are going to spend more money for a wellness, in this case sleep experience, because that is ultimately what they are after. And where once upon a time people went on vacation and said, well, you know what, we're going to go on vacation, we can sleep when we get home. That is no longer the case. Sleep is very much part of that vacation, of that reset button that people are looking for when they're going on vacation, and they're willing to pay a premium for it.
Yeah, and I think what you said is so interesting because this idea of a sleep-informed room or a couples-informed room or a family-informed room, we don't do that at Six Senses, but I actually love the idea. Like, we unbundle those two things, and the sleep is a wellness product that you purchase as an add-on to your room. Like, we don't actually put those together. But I think that's a really great idea and a great way to kind of offer a different way of purchasing, this kind of stuff.
We talked about not using, but making sure that staff promote products. But what are the biggest challenges that we have to implementing these comprehensive sleep programs in our hotels?
Oh my God, where do you begin? It's not easy to implement programs. Even just 20, I know companies here with hundreds of hotels, and we only have 26, and every country, every property has its own challenges. There's training of your staff. Like, do they know what this is? If you're on a little island in the middle of the nowhere and your staff isn't, they may not have the education around sleep, around the circadian rhythm. Like, we have a huge training department because they have to understand what it is to be able to talk about it, to be able to sell it. And that's the guest experience maker, that's the spa and wellness team, that's the front desk, that's everybody. And so I feel like every time we add one program, the property's like, no, not another one. But it's a huge educational lift for our hosts to learn about these programs, to be able to implement them.
I would also think the personalization aspect must be super challenging, right? Because, you mentioned temperature control in the room, right? And we were talking about how it's a little bit harder for you to get your voice back because it's so dry here, right? So even if you keep your room at home or your bedroom at home, it's 69 degrees or 68 degrees or whatever your ideal temperature is. Here you might need to keep it a little bit warmer because it's a little bit drier, whereas in Miami it's a little bit more humid. And so how does that affect how you're sleeping? And it's just a very complicated, in addition to staff training, it's training the customer as well to really know themselves well enough to be able to help themselves get a good night's sleep, right?
It is, and I think currently I would agree with Susie that the quality of staff that we need in order to do this, so for us it's really what we call the sensei guide position. It's the most challenging thing because we really need super talented people that understand what they're talking about and can deliver it to the guests in a manner that the guest actually understands it. Is one thing. What you just talked about, I think for me, I have this vision of the future where that's really where technology is going to help us. And there's so much opportunity to really, with technology advancing, AI included, and then the human connection that is still necessary to really understand, okay, when is it a given and when is there a human component where we actually make some differentiation where it can help us. But if we can learn about you, who you are, what your preferences are, and then make sure that we have those set for you at the right time in the right environment, that's where technology really is going to be a super catalyst to getting all this personalized further.
And part for us, we have our mission loyalty program. So that's where you are registering. There is actually a series of questions that ask you specifically, like pillow, mattress, sleep, food, drinks. It has like a different categories that you will select what you prefer. So that's something that we also use as our internal for guest preferences.
That's fantastic. And then, can carry over to the next time we noticed your room was at 70 degrees. Would you like it at that again when you revisit? And I think that's fabulous. Susie, did you want to comment? No? So I guess we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I'm curious, what are the best ways to measure success? So what metrics should we be using to evaluate the success of our sleep initiatives? And maybe, Brian, I don't know if you have some recommendations.
Well, the obvious one is that everybody focuses on, guest satisfaction. I don't know that we often break that down into specific elements of the stay quite enough, especially on the large chains. But if we could do a deeper dive with the guest post-stay or whatever to really understand what they liked, what they didn't like, I don't think we're there yet in our data mining, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on our prep call a little bit, where we don't have a sleep-specific assessment score at this point, but we look at the comments that we get from our guests very carefully, while they're on property and also post-property, to really have a good sense of how we impacted their sleep experience. And I think because at Sensei, we also really foster relationships, not just transactions when guests stay with us. We really believe in helping them on their wellness journey on an ongoing basis. We actually do get real-time feedback, even post-stay then on how we did.
Specifically with the sleep program, we can look at how many have we sold, at which properties, how long did people stay, what were their, how did they feel about it when they were done. But sleep overall as an element of the stay, we don't measure specifically either. And so, I think that it's something that we can definitely, we have the survey about your stay. So we do find out, what did you think of the bed and the food and all of this kind of stuff. So it's a kind of like a very gray area for us.
I think for us in Hanalei Bay, we have also like stays that you can retreats that you can book them and customize. So this is where they would very similar that call you, customize to you. But I think what I see a future as well is maybe creating those sleep retreats, because people want that. If somebody that specifically want, then you can cater about the sleep, more metrics, as well as like meditation, more peace of mind. And then we do follow like 30 days out when they leave. We follow up with them, and then in 6 months we will also follow up to see if they would like to return. So like making that like a habit. Once a year I go in for a week, and this is my time to disconnect.
Well, we have about 5 minutes left. So my final question for all of you is forward-looking. And how do you all see the sleep tourism evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And Elena, I'll start with you.
I think a lot of initiatives that we talked here, because some brands do it more than the others. I think everybody kind of like taking best practices and then implementing that. Because as we talked about it, even I look at myself now as you get a little bit older, aging. So, and you want to stay when you're going to Four Seasons or Sensai or Baccarat, that you're going to have a great experience because you know that they're going to invest money in that mattress. Back in the day, I didn't care if I'm staying at a budget hotel for a one night or two because I'm saving money. But I think as then later you prioritize your health, your wellness, your well-being is more important than saving that extra money.
I think just to add to that, I think it kind of goes two ways, where there's going to be like a highly sophisticated tech-based a way of working with sleep, and some people really love that. And then there's going to be a very more like bringing back these ancient principles, more indigenous, land-based, place-based, where it's very hands-on, it's very human. And so I feel like some people will want a super high-tech, and some people will want a super human approach. And so I think it kind of is going to fragment. But, yeah.
Interesting. I actually see the ability to combine those two and have people really appreciate what technology brings while not losing what these really ancient philosophies have taught for millennia. That is still being very much appreciated. But I think, when we certainly see a future of wellness travel that is just going to increase, and guests are going to become more and more sophisticated. They're going to learn how to understand their own data and how to actually impact it. And when we used to say, hey, listen, walk 10,000 steps a day and you're good. Well, we know that's very superficial. That's not enough. The same thing with sleep. You can't just say, get 8 hours of sleep and you're good. It's like, no, it's a completely unique scenario again. So the combination of technology that helps really analyze data, the advent of AI, which is not really an advent anymore, but is real, that will help us customize further for guests in combination with yoga, meditation, things that have been around for a very long time, are going to become increasingly more important in our offerings.
Brian, I'll let you.
Okay. Well, in our space, we're really divided into two schools of thought when it comes to technology. We've been on the leading edge of implementing technology into our product, and we have a whole group of mattress dorks that work in our innovation center, and half of them are all about technology, and the other half are of the school, just because you can, that doesn't mean you should. And a certain demographic, and myself included, with any new technology in a new space, there's a certain element of anxiety that comes with that. And, I would probably say, from my perspective at least, I don't want to deal with having to interact with my bed. I just want a good quality bed. So, again, two schools of thought. We're still trying to figure it out. We've got product that goes into the next decade, but
like
does the customer really want it?
I think like Alex said, it's all personal preference. You might have the best product, but it might work for you, might not work for me.
Elena, Susie, Alex, Brian, thank you so much for all of this insight on sleep. I hope all of you get a great night's sleep tonight on these fabulous beds, and safe travels home. And thank you so much for coming to our talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.